Imagine a street you do not know. Late autumn. The kind of evening when the dark comes earlier than you remembered, and the air has that thin, metallic cold that gets under a coat without asking. The houses are mostly dark. People have already gone to bed or gone deeper into their lives. You are walking past. You do not live here, and you would not have noticed anything at all, except for one window. Upstairs, second floor, a small yellow lamp left burning on the sill. Just one. No one is sitting beside it. No one is reading there. The room behind it is empty, as far as you can tell. But the light is on. Somebody, hours ago, switched it on and did not switch it off. Somebody is waiting for someone who has not come home yet. You do not know who. You do not know how late they are. You only know, the way you know these things without being told, that the light is not decorative. The light is a person. The light is saying quietly into the cold street, "I am still here. I have not gone to bed. Come home whenever you come." The door is open, and you keep walking. But something in you walks slower past that window than past the others. Something in you, for a reason you cannot quite name, did not want to leave that light behind. Hold that image for a moment. Just that. A single lamp on a sill, in a window of a house you have never been inside, burning for someone you will never meet. We are going to come back to it. So, hello, come in. Sit down wherever you sit when no one is asking anything of you. Take the coat off, or do not. Put the phone face down, or do not. I am not going to ask you to perform anything here tonight. If you are tired, you are allowed to be tired in this room. If you came here without knowing exactly why you came, if you opened this video the way a person sometimes opens a door at the end of a long day, not because they expect anything, but just because the door was there, then you are in exactly the right place, and you do not have to explain yourself. I do not need to know your week. I do not need to know what you used to be or what you have stopped being, or how long it has been since something. We have an hour, that is all. One quiet hour, you and me and one old story, and we are going to take it slowly. There is no test at the end. There is no homework. You are not going to be asked to feel better by a certain page. If you only manage to sit here and breathe a little more deeply than you were breathing when you opened the video, that will be enough. That will be, in fact, more than enough. It will be something I would call holy, if you let me use that word without it sounding like a sermon. Because here is the thing I want you to know before we even begin. I think you came here carrying something. I do not know what. I'm not going to guess at it out loud, because the worst thing a person can do, when somebody is carrying something quietly, is name it before they are ready. So I will not name it. I will only say, gently, the way a friend says it across a kitchen table at midnight, that I think you have been holding something this evening that you have not put down in a long time. Maybe you do not even have a word for it yet. Maybe it does not have a shape. Maybe it just feels like a tiredness that sleep does not touch. Maybe it feels like a small, low ache behind everything else you do, that you have learned to live around the way a person learns to live around an old injury. Whatever it is, you brought it in here with you, and I want you to know that you are allowed to keep holding it for now. We are not going to wrestle it out of your hands. We are just going to sit, the two of us, with it in the room. There is a story coming, an old one. Most of you have heard pieces of it before, in childhood maybe, or at the back of a church on a Sunday you have half forgotten. I want to tell it to you again, slowly, the way it sometimes needs to be told, not the way it is usually told. Because most of the time, when this story gets told, it is told from the wrong side of the road. It is told from the side of the one who left. And tonight, I want to tell it from the side of the one who stayed, the one who left the light on, because I have a quiet suspicion, and I will not push it on you, I will only set it down here in the middle of the room and let you look at it, that something in your life right now is more like that window than you realize, that there is a lamp burning somewhere for you, that it has been burning a long time, that you did not turn it on, and you are not the one keeping it lit, and nobody is going to switch it off before you get home, no matter how long it takes. I do not need you to believe that yet. I only need you to stay in the room with me for a little while, and let the image sit. The window, the yellow light, the cold street, somebody, upstairs, waiting up. That is the door of this hour. We are going to walk through it together, slowly. And if at any point you need to stop and just breathe, stop and breathe. The story will wait. It has waited longer than you think. So, here is the story. There is a father. He has 2 sons. One day, the younger one comes to him and asks for his share of the inheritance, which, in that time and place, in that village, in that culture, was very nearly the same as saying, "I wish you were dead. I do not want to wait for your death to have what is mine. Give it to me now, and I will go." Most fathers in that world would have struck the boy. Some would have disowned him on the spot. This father does neither. This father, without a word recorded for us, divides the property, hands the boy his portion, and lets him go. And the boy goes. He packs whatever a young man packs when he is leaving and not coming back. He walks down the road that leads out of the village. The father stands somewhere, at the gate maybe, or at a window we are not told, and watches his son grow smaller and smaller, until the road bends and the boy is gone. And here is where the story, the way it usually gets told, follows the son, off into the far country, into the wine and the strangers and the borrowed beds and, eventually, the pigs. And we will get there. We will. But tonight I want to stay with the father, because Jesus tells this parable in a particular way, and there is one line in it that almost everyone hurries past, and I do not want us to hurry past it. The line is this: when the son finally turns toward home, when he is still on the road, still far away, Luke writes, while he was still a long way off, his father saw him. Saw him. From a long way off. Which means, and just sit with this for a second, which means the father was looking. Not glancing, not sometimes wondering, looking. From a distance from which a son is barely a smudge against the dust of the road, the father recognized him. And the only way you recognize someone from that far away is if you have been studying that horizon for a very, very long time. Picture it. The father, the morning after the boy left. He gets up. He does the things a man does in the morning. And then, before the heat of the day, he walks to the edge of the property, to the place where the road bends. He stands there. He looks. Nothing. Just dust. Just the same goats on the same hill. He goes back inside. He eats something. He works. And in the evening, when the light goes long and golden across the fields, he walks out again, to the same place. He looks. Nothing. He goes back inside. And the next day, and the day after that, and the week after that, and the month, and the season turns, and the rains come, and the rains stop, and the wheat goes in and the wheat comes up, and he is still walking out to that bend in the road, morning and evening, every day, to look. The neighbors notice, of course. At first they are kind about it. They say, "Give him time, he is grieving." Then they get embarrassed for him. Then they stop mentioning it. The man has a habit now. The man walks to the road. The man comes back. That is what the man does. And inside the house, and this is the part that breaks something in me every time I think about it, inside the house, no one is praying for the boy out loud anymore. The older brother long ago stopped saying his name. The servants do not bring him up. Even the mother, if she is still alive in the version of the story you imagine, has gone quiet about him, the way grief eventually goes quiet because it has nowhere to put itself. The boy has, for everyone else, more or less ended. But the father walks out to the road, morning and evening, and he is not doing anything dramatic. He is not weeping. He is not tearing his clothes. He is just looking, standing in the dust at the edge of his land, in his old sandals, with his hand maybe shading his eyes against the sun, looking at a horizon that has given him nothing for a year, 2 years, longer. And the day comes, the ordinary day, the day that begins like every other day, when there is something at the bend in the road, a figure, small, probably a beggar. Probably nothing. The father has had this hope 1,000 times, and 1,000 times it has been a stranger. But he keeps looking. The figure comes closer, and before that figure has even come close enough for any reasonable man to be sure, the father is already running. Now, you have to understand something about old men in long robes in that part of the world. They do not run. It is undignified. They walk slowly because they have arrived at a station in life where they no longer have to hurry for anyone. And this father, this dignified old man, gathers up the hem of his robe in his hands like a boy and runs. Across the field, down the road, toward the smudge that he, and only he, has recognized as his son. Because he has been watching that road for so long that he could pick that boy out of a crowd of 1,000. Sit with that for a moment. Not the running yet. We will come back to the running later. Sit with the watching. The years of watching. The mornings, the evenings, the empty road, the going back inside, the coming out again. Because here is what I want you to feel, before we go anywhere else with this story. Whoever you are, sitting wherever you are sitting tonight, there is a horizon somewhere, and someone has been watching it for you. You did not know. You could not have known. You were not even on the road yet. You were still in the far country, or you were still in the pigs, or you were not even thinking about coming back, or you had forgotten there was a back to come to. And the whole time, somebody was at the bend in the road, in old sandals, in the long evening light, looking. Not because you had given him a reason to look, because looking for you is what he does. It is what he has been doing. It is, as best as we can tell from the way Jesus tells this story, the main thing he does with his days. We think the story of coming home is the story of the son standing up from the pigs and starting to walk. It is not. The story of coming home started years before that, with a man at a gate who did not stop watching. And the lamp on the windowsill that you walked past in the cold street at the beginning of this hour, the one nobody seemed to be sitting beside, the one that was on anyway. I want you to begin to notice that it has been on the whole time we have been talking. Nobody has switched it off. Nobody is going to. Now I want to ask you something. While the father is standing at the bend in the road, morning and evening, season after season, what is he doing? He is not speaking. He is not making demands of heaven. He is not lighting candles or going through forms. He is just looking down an empty road, with his son's name held silently in his chest, like something he is keeping warm. And I want to suggest to you, gently, the way a friend offers a thought across a table without insisting on it, that what the father is doing on that road is praying. Not in any way that anyone would recognize. There are no words. There is no posture of prayer. There is just a man and a horizon and a name he will not put down. And if that is what prayer looks like when the Father does it, then we have been thinking about prayer all wrong. We thought prayer was something we do, something we initiate, something we are supposed to keep up. And when we let it slip, when the words stop coming, when whole weeks go by and we realize we have not really spoken to God in a way that meant anything, we assume the line has gone dead on our end because nobody was speaking. But the Father is not speaking either. The Father has been silent on that road for years, and nobody would say the Father has stopped loving his Son. Hold that. There is a man, 1,600 years ago, who understood this. His name was Augustine. He had been a brilliant young man who walked away from the faith of his mother, the faith of his childhood, and went looking for himself in everything else, in philosophy, in ambition, in lovers, in the long late nights of clever conversation in foreign cities. He drifted for years, and then one day he came back. And when he sat down to write about it, much later, as an old bishop in North Africa, he tried to put into a sentence what had actually happened to him. And what he came up with was this. He wrote, and I am going to give it to you in plain English the way he meant it. He wrote, "You were within me, but I was outside, and there I sought you. You were with me, and I was not with you." Read that again, slowly. You were within me, but I was outside. He had spent years looking for God in all the wrong places, and the thing he discovered when he finally turned around was not that God had come in from far away to meet him. It was that God had been inside him the whole time he was looking. The seeking he thought he was doing, the long, restless searching that had taken him through half the Roman Empire, had not been him climbing toward God. It had been God, already inside him, pulling him home from the inside. The longing was not his. The longing was God, in him, calling him back to God. Now, turn that key in the lock of the parable and watch what happens. The son is in the far country. He has spent the money. He has been abandoned by everyone the money attracted. He is in a field with the pigs, which, for a Jewish boy, was about as low got, and he is hungry enough that the pods the pigs are eating are starting to look like food. And then Luke writes one of the quietest, most beautiful lines in the whole gospel. He came to himself. He came to himself. Something in him woke up. Something in him remembered that he had a father. Something in him ached, for the first time in a long time, in a direction that made sense. And we usually read that moment as the son's moment, the son's decision, the son's heroism of beginning to walk home. But ask yourself, where did that ache come from? Where, in a pig field, at the very bottom of a life he had thrown away, did a young man suddenly find inside himself the strength to stand up and turn around? He did not generate it. He had nothing left to generate anything with. The ache came to him. It found him in the pigs. It was, I think Augustine would say it like this, it was the Father's voice, reaching him across the distance. The same voice that had been quiet on the road morning and evening for years, looking, that voice was also, the whole time, inside the son, slowly turning him. The Father on the road and the ache in the pig field are the same thing. They are the same prayer said from both ends. The Father is praying his Son home, and the prayer is reaching the Son not as words from outside, but as a longing from inside. The Son thinks he is deciding to come home. He is not. He is being drawn. The decision feels like his own, and in a real way it is his own. But the wind in the sail of that decision did not come from him. It came from the man on the road who never stopped looking. So when the boy stands up out of the mud, brushes himself off, and starts the long walk back, he is not making the journey alone. He has not been alone for a single step. He was not alone in the far country. He was not alone in the brothels. He was not alone in the pig field. The Father has been with him, inside him the whole time, holding open a door inside his chest that the Son did not know was there. And one day, the door opens enough for the boy to feel a draught of home coming through it. And he starts walking toward the place that the draught is coming from. And let me say what this means for you, sitting where you are sitting, because I think you have already started to feel it. If there is any ache in you tonight, any low, restless wanting towards something you cannot quite name, any reason at all that you opened this video and did not close it, that ache is not your problem. That ache is not evidence of how far you have drifted. That ache is the oldest, quietest form of prayer there is, and it is not coming from you. It is coming through you, from someone who has been inside you the whole time, calling you back from the inside while you thought you were alone outside. You did not start this journey. You are not the one keeping it going. The wanting itself is the proof that you are already being brought home. The Father on the road has been praying, and the prayer has been reaching you in the only language the far country still understands, the language of a small, stubborn ache that will not go away. You came to yourself tonight. Just a little, just enough to be here. And that coming to yourself is the Father's voice, finally reaching the pig field. So let me speak to you now, directly, the way a friend speaks when the room has gone quiet and there is nothing left to do but say the thing out loud. I think I know, more or less, what you have been carrying tonight. I am not going to pretend I can see the shape of it exactly, but I think you came in here with a quiet, private weight, and the weight has a name, and you have been avoiding the name for a while now. The name is something like this: I have stopped praying. Not all at once, not on any particular day you could point to. It happened the way a tide goes out, so slowly you do not notice the water leaving, and then one afternoon you look down and the boat that used to float is sitting in the sand. You used to pray. You remember that you used to. You remember a version of yourself who knelt by a bed, or who whispered something on the way to work, or who lit a candle in a church that smelled like wax and old stone and felt for a moment like home. You remember when the words came easily, when you did not have to manufacture them, when there was somebody listening on the other end and you could feel that there was. And then somewhere, you do not know exactly where, the words got shorter. And then they got rarer. And then they got embarrassed, the way a person who has not called an old friend in too long becomes embarrassed to call. And then they stopped. And you did not even notice the week they stopped. You only noticed months later or years later that you could not remember the last time you had really spoken to God. And underneath all of that, and this is the part you have not said out loud to anyone, maybe not even to yourself, there is shame. A small, low shame like a stone in a shoe. You feel like you let something go that you should have held on to. You feel like you are the one who walked out of the room. You feel like, if there is silence between you and God now, the silence is your fault, because you were the one who stopped speaking. I want to say that word once, and then I am going to put it down, because we are not going to spend the rest of this hour with it. Shame. That is what it is called. That is what you have been carrying. I see it. I am not going to pretend I do not. But now that we have named it, look at it with me for a second, in the light of everything we have just been talking about. Because I do not think it is true. I do not think you are the one who walked out of the room. I do not think the silence between you and God is your fault. I do not even think there has been silence. Listen, the father on the road did not speak for years. The father stood at that bend in the dust morning and evening, with nothing coming back, and nobody would say the father had stopped praying. He was praying with his whole life. He was praying with the act of walking out to look. And if that is what prayer is, a name held warm in the chest, a horizon watched, a door left unlocked, then I want to ask you something. Did you really stop? Did you? Because here is what I notice. If you had really stopped, you would not be here tonight. You would not have opened this video. You would not have sat through 3 chapters of an old story you half remember. Something in you is still aching towards something. Something in you, all these years that you thought you had gone silent, has been quietly walking out to a bend in a road inside you, looking. You did not know that was prayer. Nobody told you. You thought prayer was words, and when the words ran out, you thought you had run out. But the words were never the prayer. The words were the foam on top of the prayer. The prayer was underneath the words, in the part of you that kept aching even when you could not say toward what. And that part of you did not stop, not for a single day, not in the worst week, not in the year you would rather not look at, not in the long stretch where you would have told anyone who asked that you had drifted, that you had lost it, that you were not who you used to be. That ache, the low, stubborn one, the one that you have learned to live around, that ache is not your failure. That ache is not the proof that you walked away. That ache is him, still calling, from inside you, the whole time. The voice that the father sent out from the road, that reached the prodigal in the pig field as a longing he did not understand. That same voice has been inside you, all these years you thought were empty, calling you the way the father called his son, without words, without forms, just a steady, quiet pull toward home that you sometimes felt as restlessness, and sometimes as sadness, and sometimes as a tiredness you could not explain. But that was, the whole time, his voice. You did not stop praying. You stopped using the old language for prayer. And then you assumed, because the old language had gone quiet, that the prayer had gone quiet too. But the prayer never went quiet. The prayer was being said through you, by someone who lives closer to you than your own breath, who has been holding the lamp on the windowsill of your interior life burning all these months, all these years, without ever being asked, without ever being thanked, without you even knowing the lamp was on. Look at me for a second. I want you to hear this clearly, because I think you have needed to hear it for a long time. The days when you forgot to pray are not days when God forgot you. He was the one holding you through them. That is why you are still here. That is why you are still able to ache. That is why, tonight, of all the things you could have done with this hour, you came and sat down with an old story about a father on a road. You did not bring yourself here, you were brought. Now I want to take you somewhere. Not the road this time, not the pig field, somewhere quieter than either. I want you to picture, if you can, a small church somewhere in the world tonight that you have never been to and will probably never see. Maybe it is in a village in France, in a stone building with a slate roof and a wooden door that sticks when you push it. Maybe it is in a side chapel in a city you have driven past on a highway. Maybe it is at the end of a dirt road in a country whose language you do not speak. It does not matter where. The point is that it is empty right now. The last person who came in to pray left hours ago. The priest has gone home. The lights are off, except for one. High up on the wall, near a small gold box on the altar, there is a red lamp. Just one. A small flame inside a red glass, burning, quietly, in an empty church, in the dark. There is nobody there to see it. There has not been anybody there to see it for hours. There may not be anybody there to see it until morning. The flame does not know. The flame does not care. The flame just burns. That little lamp has a name, in the tradition that hangs it there. It is called the sanctuary lamp. And the reason it is lit is to say, to anyone who walks in, at any hour of the day or night, he is here. He has not left. You did not have to come to make him present. He was present before you arrived. He will be present after you leave. The lamp is not a reminder that you should pray. The lamp is a witness that he is praying for you, right now, in this room, whether you are in it or not. Sit with that. Right now, as you are listening to this, somewhere in the world, there are thousands of these little lamps burning in empty rooms. In churches, nobody is visiting tonight. In chapels that have been locked since 5 o'clock. In monasteries where the monks are asleep, the lamps are on. Nobody asked them to keep burning. Nobody is keeping them lit by effort or attention or worthiness. They are simply lit. They have been lit in some of those places every single night for hundreds of years, through wars, through plagues, through the long winters when nobody came. The lamp did not go out. Now hold that beside your own life for a moment. All those years you thought you had drifted, all those months of silence you have been ashamed of, all those evenings you should have prayed and did not, all those mornings you woke up and could not remember the last time God had felt close. Underneath all of that, underneath every quiet, hollow stretch you have been carrying, there has been a lamp. Small, red, steady, lit before you were born, burning while you slept, burning while you forgot, burning while you were doing the dishes and not thinking of him, burning while you cried at 3 a.m. over something you could not tell anyone about, burning while you laughed and did not need him, burning while the years went by and you assumed he had gone quiet, when in fact he was the lamp, and the lamp had never gone out, and the room was never as empty as you thought. He has been your sanctuary lamp. All these years of your silence, he has been the faithfulness that did not require your faithfulness. He has been the praying that did not require your praying. He has been the staying that did not require your staying. There is a young woman who understood this. Her name was Thérèse. She lived in a Carmelite convent in France, and she died very young, before she was 25, of tuberculosis. And in the last years of her short life, she wrote down what she had figured out about God, and what she had figured out was this. She said, and I am paraphrasing her a little, but she said something very close to this. She said that she was like a very small child at the bottom of a staircase. The staircase was the holiness she could not climb. She had tried. She had tried for years. She did not have the legs for it. Her legs were too small. And one day she stopped trying. She just sat at the bottom of the stairs and waited. And what she discovered was that her father came down the stairs and picked her up and carried her. She did not have to climb. She had never been able to climb. The climb was never the point. The point was that she belonged to someone whose joy it was to carry her. And the more honest she got about how small she was, the easier she was to lift. I want to give that to you tonight, as a kind of permission. You do not have to climb anything in this hour. You do not have to make any resolutions. You do not have to figure out how to get back to where you used to be. You are allowed to be small. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to sit at the bottom of whatever staircase you have been failing to climb and just stop. The lamp will keep burning. It does not need you to keep it lit. It never has. He has been carrying you up the stairs of these years that you thought you were failing to climb. That is why you are this high. That is why you are still here at all. You did not climb. You were carried. So just for tonight, and you can take this for tonight only, you do not have to commit to anything past tonight. Let yourself be small. Let yourself be held. Let yourself stop counting how many days it has been since you really prayed, because the counting was never measuring what you thought it was measuring. There is a small red light burning in a church you have never been to, and it is burning for you. There is a man on a road in an old story watching a horizon that you have never seen, and he is watching for you. There is a father at the top of a staircase you cannot climb, and he is already on his way down, and he has been on his way down for a long time. You are not alone in the empty room. You never were. The lamp is on. So, we are nearly at the end of our hour. And before you go, I want to give you something to take with you. Not advice, not a plan, just a blessing. The kind you give to a friend at the door before they put their coat on and step back out into the cold. Here is what I want you to know, before anything else. Whatever you did with this hour, even if you drifted off in the middle, even if your mind went somewhere else for 10 minutes and came back, even if you only half listened while you were doing something else with your hands, what you just did was prayer. Not a metaphor for prayer, not almost prayer. Prayer. You sat down. You let an old story about a father on a road be told slowly in your direction. You stayed in the room. You let yourself be addressed. That is what prayer is. That is what it has always been. The words were never the point. The staying was the point. And you stayed. So if you have not prayed in months, if you have not prayed in years, if you cannot remember the last time you knelt down or folded your hands or said the names of the people you love into the dark, listen to me. You prayed tonight. It counted. It was received. There was someone on the other end of this hour, and he was listening more carefully than I was speaking. And what he heard from you was not your shame, and not your silence, and not your long absence. What he heard was the sound of his own child sitting still long enough to be loved. And that is what he has been waiting for. Not your apology, not your explanation, just your sitting still. Now let me pray something out loud with you, if you will let me. Not at you, with you. The way a friend prays beside a friend when neither of them quite has words. Father, thank you for keeping the lamp on. We did not know it was on. We thought we were the ones who had to keep it lit, and we are tired, and we did not. Forgive us for assuming that your silence meant your absence. It never did. Tonight, hold the one listening to this. Hold them just as they are, not as they used to be, not as they are afraid they have become, just as they are right now. Remind them, when this hour is over, that the lamp is still on, that you are still on the road, that they have not been alone for a single step. We do not have many words tonight, and we do not need to. We just want to say, in the only language we have left, we are here. You are here. That is enough. Amen. Now, before you close this and the room you are in goes back to being only your room, let me say two more things. The first is a question. I'm not going to ask you to comment with a long story. I'm not going to ask you to tell me your week. But if there is one word, just one, that names what you brought into this hour with you tonight, I would love it if you would leave that word in the comments. Just the word, not the story behind it. Tired, lost, afraid, forgotten, tender. Whatever the word is for you, leave it here. Not so I can answer it. I cannot answer it, and I would not pretend to. Leave it because somebody else, scrolling through after you, is going to see that word and know that they are not the only one. That is how we keep each other company on the nights we cannot keep ourselves company. One word. That is all. And the second thing, if this hour was something you needed, there is a small playlist on this channel of other hours like this one. Slow nights, old stories, the lamp left on. They are there for the next evening when you do not know what to do with yourself. If you want us to find each other again on a night like that, subscribe. That is the only way I know how to keep the door open for you. No pressure, no urgency, just the light will be on this side too, whenever you come back. That is what I wanted to give you tonight. The lamp on the windowsill where we started, that you walked slower past. The father in his old sandals at the bend in the road. The small red flame in the empty church. The child at the bottom of the staircase being carried up. They are all the same thing. They are all him. And they are all for you. The days when you forgot to pray were not days when he forgot you. He was the one holding you through them. That is why you are still here. That is why you are able to ache. That is why, of all the things in the world you could have done with this hour, you sat down with a friend and an old story, and you stayed to the end. Go gently now. Turn the light off, or do not. Put the kettle on, or go to bed. Whatever this evening still has left in it for you, walk into it slowly. You are not alone in the room. You never were. The lamp is on. Good night.